Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Shauna Goodell. I'm a senior director for Black Diamond and will be moderating today's webinar. Today, we'll be delving into the world of upgrading to OneStream's version 8 platform, a new version that offers all of the latest features and modern technology, plus some pretty cool user features as well, all of which we'll be covering in more detail today. Let's go ahead and we'll bring up our slides as everybody's kind of joining us in the room here. Okay, share my screen. All the panelists on me with me today, just make sure that we can see the slides here. Okay.
Yep, we can see it.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So while we're having everybody kind of join us here on the call, let's go ahead and just take care of some housekeeping here. So as you're joining, go ahead and log in Zoom with your username, with your first name and last name. And then we're going to do Q&A. We're going to do Q&A using the Q&A feature here in Zoom meeting. So go ahead and ask questions throughout the webinar in the Q&A feature. We'll collect those questions there, and we'll be answering those questions for you at the end of the presentation when we get to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And then just so everybody knows, we will be providing a link to the recording and also to the slides that we're sharing today. So before we get into the presentation, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. So like I said, my name is Shauna Goodell. I'm a senior director here at Black Diamond. I've been with the company for 3 years, serving in various leadership roles. Currently, I'm heading up a new initiative called the Expert Roundtable, which is a community dedicated to supporting and training OneStream administrators. I'm going to hand it over to Damon to do a quick intro of himself, and then Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Shauna. Damon Mittleider, I'm one of the founders in the Black Diamond Advisory, and I serve as the Chief Technology Officer for Black Diamond Advisory. A lot of what that encompasses is just making sure that we're using technology to its fullest advantages, and also some things that are exciting like partner place and solutions on top of that.
All right, thanks, Shauna and Damon, and thank you to Black Diamond for hosting this webinar. My name is Dave Corbett, and I'm with OneStream Product Management, and I've done a lot of work producing assets and preparing our customers for the version 8 plus upgrades, and happy to be here with you today to share some information.
All right. Thank you, Damon and Dave. Let's take a few more minutes to meet the rest of our presenters. Jason, do you want to kick us off?
Sure thing. I'm Jason Karber. I've spent about 20 or a little over 20 years in the EPM and CPM space. Come from a company called Koch Industries, which at the time was the largest OneStream customer in the world, and joined Black Diamond when it was very young to become ultimately a senior director. And I spent a lot of time leading our COE, doing work with the Expert Roundtable, and then also delivering great solutions to our clients. Cameron?
Hi there, my name is Cameron Lackpour. I'm in the products and solutions groups. I've been in performance management since 1990, which is sort of a terrifying thing to say out loud. I've been in the OneStream space since 2017, so going on 7 years with the tool and the technology. And I'm the co-author of the one and only Planning in OneStream book from OneStream Press.
So hi all, my name is Daniel Hopson. I'm the Global Technical Director here at Black Diamond Advisory. My role really in the organization is looking after technical assurance and support for all of our teams across all of our projects, and then doing things like making sure we're taking advantages of new technologies and practices like SIC and V8 that we're talking about today.
Right, so now that we've met our presenters, for those of you who aren't familiar with Black Diamond, just a little bit about us. Black Diamond Advisory is the largest global OneStream software consulting firm in the world. We operate in the US and in Canada and EMEA and also in APAC. We are the leader in complex FP&A solutions with about 125 OneStream consultants, with many of our consultants being lead architects. And up till now, we've got about 150 OneStream implementations under our belt. Okay, now that we've done some introductions and we're a little bit more familiar with Black Diamond, we're going to quickly cover the agenda and then get right into the content. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off talking a little bit about version 8 upgrade, what it includes, what's changing. We're going to be talking about the impacts of those changes, the benefits that you'll gain by moving to version 8. We'll talk about when to upgrade and also why. We'll cover a little bit kind of what to look out for as far as the obstacles associated with upgrading, and then how to get started, and then the roadmap on how do we get there. So first, let's begin by talking about what's new and what's changing with version 8. And Dave from OneStream is going to walk us through those details.
All right, great, Shauna. So we use the term V8 Plus as a reference to the upgrade of customers who are on OneStream platform prior to version 8, who are upgrading to a OneStream platform of version 8 or higher. And now version 8's been in market for nearly a year. We released 8.0 back in August of 23, and the current OneStream platform release in market is 8.2, and we expect a new release that we're calling R2 at the moment to be in August of this coming year. So what makes this platform release different than others? Well, you know, most OneStream platform upgrades, we sort of pride ourselves in a really simple process of upgrading your platform. And this has got a little bit more impact. And the reason being is that we're ushering in some new modern cloud native technology. We've also chosen to develop the OneStream platform on the most latest version of Microsoft's .NET development framework. And these are all, you know, house cleaning items, so to speak, getting all our customers ready so that OneStream can take advantage of new modern technology, sometimes referred to as next gen, and getting ready for the future of OneStream, really. You know, how can we scale to 10,000 customers? Really, that's our mission at OneStream. So to dig into the details, with version 8, we talk about new cloud technology, modern technology. There's really three things to talk about, starting in the leftmost column on this slide. The first is really all about authentication. Authentication is, you know, the secure way to log into the OneStream platform. And cloud customers will be adopting OneStream Identity Server with their version 8 upgrade, if they haven't already. There's over 500 OneStream customers who are using OneStream Identity Server today already. So many have made this step before their version 8 upgrade. But OIS is the acronym that we use. And OIS is a modern authentication capability. We can integrate virtually with every identity provider in the market. You know, the popular ones are like Entra ID, which used to be Azure AD, Ping Federate, and Okta, but there are many others, and this allows us to connect to all of them, and it allows for customers to have multiple sources of authentication into a single cloud instance. Now, this is for cloud customers only. Self-hosted customers will continue with what we've now termed legacy authentication. But part of the excitement around this is also that we've built a self-service portal. So there's something called the Identity Access and Management Portal, which you can grant role permission to among your administrators, and allow for the setup and management of that integration. It also allows for some personal access token work, which is used in your API connections. The second area of new cloud technology deals with data integration. So also, very complex area of a SaaS provider is ensuring that we can import data from your data sources, we can drill back to them, or maybe we can export to your data warehouse, OneStream data. So whenever those data sources lie within a customer network, there's an extra level of security that needs to be managed. And in the past, we've done that with virtual private network, or VPN. About 1/3 of our cloud customers have been using VPN to date, and we're transitioning all of those customers from VPN to Smart Integration Connector, or SIC. Much more IT-friendly approach, cloud native, uses Azure Relay, Microsoft Azure Relay as its backbone. That's a technology that Power BI uses. It also allows for customers to manage their own database credentials and set up and manage their own data source connections. So that if you haven't already done that, we've got over 250 customers who have made that transition already. And again, if you haven't made that transition, that is something that would be a requirement if you have VPN to transition to Smart Integration Connector with your version 8 upgrade. And then the third is really infrastructure, and that is OneStream's decision to move off a fairly old version of the .NET framework, which was 4.8 at its latest. We're now up to .NET 8. .NET 8 has a great capacity for running memory-intensive operations. So we're seeing significant performance improvements in certain consolidation runs and data management operations. But it also has a more constrained compiler, and that has had an impact on business rules. So there are some business rules syntax that needs to be adjusted, and the downstream effect of that is some of the marketplace solutions need to be upgraded. So that's all in the new technology, cloud native approach. In terms of release features, as you know, with the OneStream platform, there are new enhancements with each release. A couple for me to tease out from here that are very compelling reasons for you to take a look at an upgrade sooner than later. One would be our modern browser experience. So we are about to go GA with the OneStream modern browser experience. GA means generally available. It'll be turned on and enabled with every upgrade to the R2 release this coming August. However, if you upgrade to 8.1 or 8.2, and we would advocate upgrading to 8.2 at this point, you can take the modern browser experience into production under our limited availability program. Now, the modern browser experience is targeted at the end user experience. So anything an end user can do is supported through a browser, and we'll get into some of the details on that later in this presentation. Another release feature to kind of tease out is some more mature narrative reporting, blending OneStream data, whether it's a parameter, text field, dynamic text field, or a cube view, or even an Excel named space. That can be blended with text within the OneStream environment. There's a new marketplace solution that wraps workflow around that, allows people to both comment and edit with live data. So we've made great strides in that area if you have management reports that require narrative reporting. On the right side is simply housekeeping. We've retired some old capabilities that aren't something that we want to take forward, and that's the client API, the use of ROPC if you're authenticating out of Excel, and then of course legacy authentication and VPNs have been replaced with respectively OIS and SIC. So that's sort of an opening look at some of the platform changes and impacts for the version 8 Plus upgrade.
All right, thank you, Dave. I think the only other thing I might point out on this slide is we also kind of noted the level of impact of these changes, most of which you can see are low. Some of the more moderate impact items are kind of called out here and then on the VPN as well. All right, thanks, Dave. Let's next, let's go ahead and talk about some of the benefits of upgrading. We have Damon with us here to walk us through those details.
Sure. Dave, I know you touched a little bit on the .NET upgrade, and I think one of the things that most of us that got into OneStream to begin with were really excited about OneStream is how they continue to kind of reinvest and continue to improve and take advantage of the latest technologies that there are in the underlying components of OneStream. That .NET 4.8 to .NET 8, while that doesn't, it's just numbers, probably numbers don't mean a lot by themselves. .NET, the 4 versions and prior were on something called Framework. The .NET 8 is now what's on called .NET Core. Why that matters is that .NET Framework was something that was originally developed over 20 years ago. And it was before cloud computing was even on the horizon. And of course, servers now have much, we're in 64-bit land. We have a lot more memory, and things like consolidations that take up a lot of memory are just much, much more efficient. And OneStream's continued to kind of reinvest in that technology and bring us kind of into the, into the 2020s with the .NET Core, the .NET 8. So what you'll find is as you move to the new version 8 or beyond, maybe even up to R2, is that you'll start to see performance improvements around consolidations and even things, even if you're not in the cloud environment, things like data buffers where they are what are called a collection. And then just .NET Core is much more efficient at addressing things that are in those collections, like a data buffer. I don't know, Dave, if you've got like concrete numbers as far as like, X% improvements, but, I think we're starting to see that being able to use that much more efficient, calculations and memory intensive operations is really starting to kind of yield benefits for a lot of people. And we're just really kind of scratching the surface, I think.
Yeah, I mean, every customer is different, Damon, but we've seen as high as 43% performance improvement in consolidation runs. We've seen over 20% improvement in stage data loads. So things that are operating in memory and they're doing lots of calculations in memory and they're aggregating data. Those are areas that are subject to improvement. No one's performance has degraded. Everyone's seeing some level of increase, but it depends on the complexity and the volume of that customer's processing.
Yep, good. And I think, the other thing with .NET Core is it's really meant to take advantage of multiple different platforms or different technologies. So I think one of the things that it offers is it's not just strapped to a Windows server. It can become much more scalable. I know there's plans, in the R2 to maybe start looking at moving it towards more of a scalable Linux environment in the back end. To the end user, it's going to be seamless, but what it does is it opens a lot of doors for OneStream to become much more powerful in the future. Beyond just performance, I mean, the other thing that, Dave, you kind of touched on, Shauna, if you want to go to the next slide, that we really are starting to, benefit from in version 8 and beyond is just increased security or increased control. So in the past, before we had the identity server, you're really strapped to one identity provider. I know a lot of you probably listening may have had an acquisition where all of a sudden somebody else has a different identity provider, and trying to integrate those all together was a bit of a challenge prior to the new OIS. And with that, in version 8 and beyond, it's just much more flexible. It offers the latest, greatest in security. It's very capable OIDC, SAML. If you've got any of those kind of different authentication identity providers, it takes advantage of all those. So it's very flexible and it's got the latest, greatest in any security and control. Shauna, I think you want to pass that off.
All right. Yeah. So for all of those more functional folks who joined the call today, we do have some wonderful slides around the front end and what it's going to do for some of our front end users. We're going to go through one more real technical piece here, and then we'll kind of get to that. So just wanted to give folks a sneak preview. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Daniel, who's going to walk us through a little bit more on integrations.
Thanks, Shauna. So everyone, I'm going to talk a little bit about how SIC simplifies the configuration and maintenance of your connections to OneStream. It basically gives you a lot more control. So we are going to get towards the fun user stuff, but we're just going to get a little bit more techie here for a moment. Apologies if I bore anyone. But one of the key benefits around SIC is it does put, as I said, the management of and control of your connections into your hands. So how does it do that? First up, SIC is a bit of a change in the way that we connect between OneStream and the source system. So historically, we would have set up VPNs. SIC uses the Azure Relay Service, which is a kind of new modern technology going along with the basis of what Damon was saying, really trying to take advantages of those new technologies that are out there. And it basically eliminates the need for us to open your networks to VPNs, which really enhances your security posture. Additionally, those credentials that we used to have to pass to OneStream to maintain connections between OneStream and source systems, all of those connections are now managed by your technical administration teams. So you don't need to pass those over to OneStream support. It really just removes the need for you to provide third parties with any secure keys to your networks and data sources and so on. And finally, the management of those data sources themselves, for example, the connections to integration layers, data warehouses, ERPs, and so on. All of those source systems that you use, including adding new and existing connections and changing those credentials and methods, they're all in the control of your technical teams as well. So while all of that might sound a little bit complicated, I can promise you that it's not. OneStream has really built SIC from the ground up to be simple and easy to maintain. And to give you an example of this, I deployed one a couple of months ago with a client. It took us half a day from starting to build the SIC server through setting a connection up and getting the data into OneStream. So if you've got the access, we know what we're doing, we can really spin these up really quickly. And then the individuals that maintain SIC, they don't need access to OneStream, and vice versa. Those OneStream users, your end users, they don't need access to SIC either. In fact, they can't access it generally, which means they can't access your credentials to your networks and so on. And there's no need to kind of cross-train individuals between IT and finance. You've got a community that are looking after OneStream and your closing and your planning processes, and another technology department who are really looking after those back-end functions. So a couple of important points there to really note from a technical perspective, I would say, is the SIC server is located in your network, whether that network's on-prem or in the cloud. So it's within your control. It's deployed how you want to deploy it, and it's maintained according to your IT server maintenance and patching policies and processes and timelines and so on. One of the key things people always ask me about is about data storage. Does it store data? How things are moved and so on? What really happens with that? How can we make sure it's secure? Azure and the OneStream SIC servers, they don't store any data. They are really, or they're purely a broker between shuttling information from the request from OneStream and then the information back from the endpoint to the endpoint. So really, they are just passing those messages back and forwards. And that tunnel, the Azure Relay Service, creates natively an encrypted tunnel. So there's no development, no configuration or anything like that that you would need to be able to configure it and make sure that the information is secure from endpoint to endpoint. And then just to kind of wrap up there, probably just a couple of advantages that I just want to really call out here right at the end. The first one is one that I mentioned earlier, but I think it is a really key point. It enables SIC, because you're managing it, it enables you to rotate your keys and credentials without involving OneStream support or any other third parties. So, no more sending, as I said, secure keys to those individuals. And, this is really something that InfoSec teams can start taking advantage of. I'm sure they're going to start thanking you for this and thanking OneStream for this, as well as any of the IT teams that need to deal with auditors during technology audits and so on, about why we're having to give keys to other people. We're bringing all of that, or OneStream are really giving you all of that ability to manage that in-house and make sure that you don't have to pass those credentials across to anyone. And then a last point really that I've been asked a lot about is about availability, high availability, redundancy, distributed networks, and so on. So SIC does enable you to have failover servers. So if one data center goes down, it can automatically switch to different data centers, and also being able to manage different subnets and regions. So if you've got a global network that's segregated across the world, it can also handle multiple connected networks through multiple SIC instances. So on that point then, I think most people will probably be pleased to know. I think that's pretty much all I was going to talk about there. Technical side done. Apologies to anyone I've just put to sleep, but I'm going to hand over to the rest of the team now to talk a little bit more about the end user feature functions and really how it's going to impact your users more going forwards.
All right, thank you, Daniel. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to Jason. And just a quick reminder, anybody who has any questions on these things as we're going, you can use the chat, but also feel free to just drop those into the Q&A section as well.
All right. So while it's forgivable that you would geek out and get excited about the things you've just heard, at the end of the day, when I think about it, is what can I use OneStream for to enhance the experience of the users? And if you've been to Splash, you've seen a lot of these. If you haven't been to Splash, I'd certainly encourage you to look at. We'll have some examples here in a minute, but I've kind of put a few of my top exciting ones on there. The modern browsing experience, which you heard Dave talk about a little bit earlier, but the idea that in the future, users will be able to log in from Edge, from Chrome, from Safari on a Macintosh, have the same experience and have it look more modern is really a compelling and exciting thing. And in a minute, you'll see even that it will work with iPhones, with your Android, with tablets, and all of that. Drill down on XF get cells. Now, I would always encourage you to use the richness of cube views in OneStream. Occasionally, I do see the need for someone to use XF get cells, and it's always been a liability that you couldn't exercise the richness in terms of transparency of data by drilling down. They've added that, and that's pretty exciting. Narrative reporting. This is one we'll have a screenshot for in a minute. Narrative reporting is to Workiva what account reconciliation is to Blackline. This, for a first release, what I've seen in narrative reporting is absolutely fantastic, and I'll show that in a minute. Launching quick view from a cube view, that's cool. Journal entry functions, okay, that's nice. Doesn't get my spidey senses tingling quite as much as some of the others. And lastly, software on software. So behind the scenes, OneStream's added what's called workspaces, and they're enhancing that, which will allow multiple solutions to live together, which ultimately allows you to deliver more to your clients, which I think is really exciting. So Shauna, if you want to bounce on to the next slide. All right, so this is an example of the modern browser experience. You take a look over at the left, there's a collapsible area up above, but basically a nice clean ability to do this. And this can be in multiple browsers, not just Edge. And thank God we're past the days of Silverlight, for those of you that are old enough to remember. On to the next slide, Shauna. So these are actually screenshots from my phone. And so I went around and tinkered in an environment that allowed me to do it. But for those of you that have used mobile dashboards from OneStream in the past, they've been somewhat limited. They're adding features to allow input and output using the spreadsheet feature, which is coming later this summer. But the ability to render, have the higher level of richness of the dashboards is exciting. You'll notice on the left there's a collapsible area, and down at the bottom, it's not collapsed, where you can actually get to your workflows, your cube views, your documents, dashboards, all of that. So you're okay to move on to the next, Shauna. So this is an example of the narrative reporting, and you'll notice that if you're familiar with Workiva, then you'll be familiar with this idea of having a document where multiple people will collaborate and you check in and check out different sections of it. And further to that, lots of, when you're producing financial results, lots of departments are worried about the kind of changes that are made and how it's logged and all of that. And that's all built in to OneStream here with this narrative reporting. So I think that's going to change the game. It allows you to get more value out of the OneStream platform, which I can't think of a more compelling use case than that. So Shauna, I think you can move on. We'll wrap it up.
All right. Yes, thank you, Jason. So now that we've gone through what's changing and the benefits, let's explore when to upgrade and why. We're going to turn it over to Dave to walk us through some of those details.
Yeah, so when to upgrade, I'd say let's go. We've had over 300 customers upgrade to date. We're 1 year into the 8s. And there's so much to take advantage of, both technologically and feature-wise. The time is now. So, a few other points here to emphasize. If you're on a platform version 6 or older, clearly it's time to upgrade. OneStream really operates under the presumption that our customers are upgrading no longer than every 18 months. So that's sort of the cycle that we're keeping you in. Obviously, we've got a lot of innovation recently released and planned around AI and sensible AI, sensible ML, very much proven in the market today with customers. So time series forecasting, something you might want to take a look at. We have sort of drawn a line in the sand as to when our end of service will be for VPN, and that's the end of August of this coming year. If that comes abruptly to you, then you can make a case for an extension. We've granted a number of extensions, and that's for customers who have a plan around transitioning off of VPN to Smart Integration Connector. The performance benefits are all an upside. Hopefully you find something material with your use cases, but as been alluded to, just on a much more modern development framework that OneStream will continue to build upon and add features to as we go forward. Security is compelling. Security can be subtle, but your IT department will be very happy with the authentication improvements and the data integration improvements. And then, using a browser for end users is just a slam dunk win all around, whether it's, getting new users into the fold that were sort of holdouts. They're on a Mac, they were sending you spreadsheets, and someone who had OneStream access was, working on behalf of them. Let's bring them into the fold now with the modern browser experience.
All right, thank you, Dave. Now that we have a better understanding of when and why to upgrade, let's talk about some of the potential obstacles associated with upgrading. Here to take us through those details is our very own OneStream expert and blogger, Cameron.
Thank you, Shauna. So every upgrade is a project. Every upgrade of any software actually has nothing to do with OneStream. In this specific case, requires forethought in thinking about what's going to happen. From a version 8 upgrade perspective, or OneStream version 8 perspective, the change to the later version of .NET will impact your business rules. It's easy to see. Someone, whether it's BDA or you yourself, tests it by running a compile and shows what the issues are. They are generally minor. The changes are usually around a more explicit way of working with code. Stuff that worked in the prior release and was perfectly fine needs to be changed a little bit. Again, not a huge one. Your clients will need to have their desktop runtime of .NET upgraded. This is something that you'll work with your IT group to get installed. Marketplace, because it is also written in .NET, has many of the same issues that your custom code has. OneStream knows this. They're all fixed. The fix to this is very, very simple. Simply upgrade, download from Marketplace, and install the latest version of those solutions. It's painless. As I mentioned before, the issue or the perspective of having a plan, think about what's going to happen to the end user. Realize that the Excel add-in is version specific. There's no backwards compatibility. There's no upwards compatibility. It's got to be the same. That's going to have to be installed, as is the latest desktop. There are lots of ways to do that. Again, these are not huge tasks to approach and to perform, but do be aware that they have to happen. Your Smart Integration Connector will need to be provisioned. The local gateway will need to be provisioned if you are using that. If you're using a VPN that then switches to SIC. And then lastly, I've mentioned the letters IT a couple of times here. I came from an IT background many, many years ago. We always tested on doing an upgrade. And as a consultant, I've lived through many of those regression tests. Be absolutely sure that you know exactly what your application should be doing, how it works, and the results that you get. The last thing you'll ever want to do is not do that comprehensively. Say, okay, it's good to go. We're up to version 8. Not realize that you've missed something, and then all of a sudden, ta-da, you have an application that's producing the wrong results. That can absolutely be mitigated and solved through an extensive and detailed testing plan. Do it.
All right. Thank you so much, Cameron, for that summary. At this point in the presentation, we're ready to talk about how to get started. So let's go. How do we do that? Well, we've got 2 options here. So one way to get started is with Black Diamond. And Black Diamond can basically give you what we like to call the hashtag sneak preview of what your upgrade is going to entail. And we do this through our expert roundtable. The roundtable can provide you with a version 8 upgrade impact assessment. And we can do this for you in about a week's worth of time. And the assessment will provide you with an executive summary of the application changes that will be required. This basically gives you essential insights in order to plan your upgrade. I know, with the, business calendar, we need to basically plan around, month-end close for these financial applications, for our monthly or quarterly forecasts, for example, or even for our budget season. So, an upgrade, depending on the depth and breadth of your application, could take a little longer if it's a little bit more complex, because like Cameron talked about, the testing of it before you turn it on. So it's definitely, this is a good way to say, well, here's all my business activities. I know about the level of effort it's going to require for the upgrade because I got kind of this sneak preview, and then I can kind of plan my upgrade in more of a roadmap fashion and make sure that I've got it accounted for in my activities. And the other way, so that's option 1. Black Diamond can work with you to kind of give you a quick sneak preview of what the changes will be that are entailed. Or you can also just go directly to OneStream. And basically you would work with OneStream in putting in a service catalog request, and then you would work with your customer success manager, and you would also be assigned an upgrade specialist who would help create the new upgraded environment, and then work with you to migrate a copy of your application. And then they'll also run an assessment on your application, which will give a pretty detailed report of what's changing. So with both of these options, you're going to get that kind of report out that shows you what's going to be changing. With Black Diamond, you just, it's a little bit quicker and just a little bit easier to do. All right, so next we'd like to share a little bit more about the roundtable and how it works. For those who may be interested in getting that sneak preview that we talked about, the roundtable is basically a community that we've built at Black Diamond for OneStream administrators and for all OneStream customers. It's a place where our solution architects basically meet on a weekly basis with OneStream administrators and super users. And these sessions that we have on a weekly basis are to, like I said, perform that version 8 upgrade and also provide OneStream training. A lot of our training is actually delivered by Jason Karber, who's on the phone with us here today. Administrators can come into this weekly session and then get one-on-one coaching with our architects who are providing technical guidance. And then we're also facilitating group discussions amongst these OneStream administrators so that they can talk to their peers at other OneStream customers and see what's going on kind of across the community and how their peers are using the application and anything that they're kind of running into. Now, if you were to sign up to get the assessment, what that looks like is you would come into this session and we would put you into a breakout room with one of our architects, and the architect would kind of walk you through that assessment process. Now, basically, we're going to turn it over to Cameron, who's going to walk you through what that assessment process looks like in a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Shauna. So I just did step one with the BDA customer. I had I'll call it a discovery phase where I pestered them to death with all sorts of questions about how does your application work? What are you trying to do? What are your pain points? Also, what version are you on? Really trying to get a high level understanding of what the application does. We got an extract of that application. We imported it into a local version of version 8. When I say extract, I mean just the metadata that describes it, no data of any kind other than currency rates. That's required for the thing to run. Did the test to see what works and what doesn't, and then documented it. I think, Shauna, it's a 14-page PowerPoint that really exhaustively lists all of the things that work, the things that there are issues around, and how to perform the upgrade itself. I think it was an interesting experience for me because I'd never done it before, and that was my first assessment client for version 8, and for the client because it also gave me an opportunity to look at, okay, here's what worked and didn't work, and here's a version-related issue. But also to identify opportunities for greater efficiencies, to think about the way processes are done. You know, an assessment of an application, even if it's only for a version, can be a mechanism to discover those issues. And it's an outsider's view of what an application does. I did not build this application. I had nothing to do with the creation of it. I think I saw things that an insider might not see because I had no background knowledge. That second session, that's what actually happened today, was where we went through that deck and we explained everything that needs to happen, both from what's going on within your application. And I made that note about upgrading to the latest version of Marketplace. They had multiple Marketplace applications, my recommendations, and then giving them the assessment and letting them decide what to do next and helping them out in their upgrade path. It was actually a lot of fun. I don't know that I always say that about work things, but that actually no, seriously, it really was a very interesting and I think fruitful exercise.
Yeah, thanks for that, Cameron. Anybody who may be interested in more information about the roundtable, we've got some QR codes on here, and we'll send it out with the presentation as well. Now, anybody who has is a member, obviously, of the roundtable can come get their V8 assessment anytime. Anybody who has not participated in the roundtable yet, you can sign up for a free trial for the roundtable, and you can use those 2 free sessions to actually just do your assessment with us. So the QR code here basically is to that free trial page. Just go in and sign up, and we'll kind of take it from there. All right. So we are getting into the final section that we're going to be presenting in the webinar, and that's the path. So this is a little bit of what does it look like, the roadmap, what are the steps involved, and maybe a little bit of the timeline involved to kind of perform one of these upgrades. And then we'll get to the Q&A portion. So let's get into kind of how do I get there. So like we said, there's 2 ways. One with Black Diamond kind of on the front end here, where you get that sneak preview or that quick assessment. That's just basically going to tell you this is what it's going to look like. This is how many things need to basically change in order for you to upgrade. And then you would go and work basically with OneStream. After that, going through their support portal, they'd have you enter a service catalog request. They would give you a bunch of action items that you need to complete. They would build out your version 8 instance or instances, depending on how many environments you have or instances that you have. And then they would migrate a copy of your current production application into that V8 instance. And then they would perform their own upgrade assessment, which would basically show the changes at that point that would need to take place. Once we get all of that kind of squared away, we go into a testing phase. This is that whole change management portion of the activity. So you would work with the users to get everything updated on their different machines. You would basically make sure everybody can log in and get access to the applications that are now in that new instance and perform the testing. You would work with your partner to remediate any issues, especially if there was something that was kicking out due to business rules. You would work with your partner and your IT department to migrate to the SIC as needed if that was required. And then the OneStream Cloud team would also work with you to put a migration plan together. And then once everything's good to go, you would do the final cutover tasks that were in your migration plan and then ultimately go live. And then the very last step would be to sunset that legacy environment. The next slide basically just shows, hey, I just want to work with OneStream. It's the exact same thing. You just chop Black Diamond off the front end, away you go. All right, so this is just a little bit more of a kind of a timeline perspective here. One of the questions that we had asked Dave over at OneStream was, about how long is it taking people to upgrade? And he indicated, it's anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. And so that's why, especially if you think yours could take a little bit longer, you may want that sneak preview. So again, you can slot it in with your other kind of business as usual activities. So you can see these would be the activities over time that you would want to kind of plan for. And then what's happening kind of down here from an instance perspective. So you've got your active instance, which is working, the whole time while the upgrade is taking place, while you had an added layer of tasks that are now need to be planned on the V8 instance, where they're going to take a copy, you would perform your testing, ultimately you would go live and transition everybody to using the new version 8 instance and application, and then the older environment would basically then be retired. And so some of those tasks here, you can see OneStream's kind of leading the effort here with your CSM and with customer support, creating your environment, providing that assessment, and then you kind of taking the lead on the change management and the testing, working with your partner to remediate anything within that testing phase, and then working on kind of your final change management or cutover items, go live, and then retiring, like I said, that legacy environment. Dave, did you have anything to add on that? Or did you feel like I covered everything?
Yeah, Shauna, I think you did a great job on these points here. The 2 weeks to 2 months, the long pull in the tent is either the number of marketplace solutions that you need to upgrade and their level of customization. That's one, I guess, one pull, and then the other would be the complexity of your data source integration if you're presently using VPN. So those two things might sway a customer towards the higher end, as well as their own sort of testing policies. And then the lower end might be you're not using VPN today, you don't have too many marketplace solution upgrades, or there's not a lot of configuration that's around them, and that might put you on the lower end.
All right, that was definitely a great addition there to what we had talked about. So this basically, this just kind of a nice summary of the partners you'll have along the way. So Black Diamond, like we said, can help you with that impact assessment. And then Black Diamond, or whoever your partner is, we will support you with general advisory, assisting with the business rule changes, assisting with the marketplace solution changes. If you're a Black Diamond specific customer, and I know we have a handful of Black Diamond customers on the call today, you will also work with Black Diamond to update any BDA solutions that you have. You will need a new version of those, plus upgrading the core technology, as well as working with your partner to make those integration and automation changes. And then Dave, do you kind of want to cover the OneStream side here?
Sure, I like that smart new branding and logo. I like the way it looks there.
That's nice, right?
Yeah. So Yeah, first of all, if you have some open questions, either, after this webinar or after consulting with some folks, in your IT department, let's just say, you're free to join what we call the VA Plus Upgrade Office Hours. And every other Thursday for an hour, we gather subject matter experts and we have an open Teams call, and it's all Q&A. So you can learn something or you can ask a question. You do have to register for these, but it's free and anybody can attend. The place to register is on One Community. If you go to OneStream's One Community site, in the main menu, there's groups, and there's a group for the VA Plus upgrade. And in that group, there's a blog post that has all the office hour registrations. So I strongly encourage that. I've attended most of these, and there's some really good conversation that goes on there. Your customer success manager is always available for help. You don't necessarily need to go through them. You can go direct to a software upgrade request. That's the normal way for a cloud customer. Sometimes I have to, preface that with a cloud customer would go to the software upgrade request and just indicate that, you're seeking an upgrade. More than likely, if it's today through, sometime late August, it'll be to version 8.2. And then starting in September and beyond, you may consider this R2 release, which will be numbered soon. But that process will kick in. You'll get someone from our cloud management team to open a ticket and get you to walk through a few prerequisites. One point that hasn't been mentioned in the webinar today is that another thing that makes this upgrade different is that we provision version 8 plus instances for you. So if you have a cloud, prod, and dev environment today, so you have 2 instances, well, we don't touch those. We'll provision, OneStream will provision for you, 1-for-1, version 8 plus, and maybe by the time you upgrade, it'll be version 8.2, 8.2 instances where you can, we'll take a snapshot of your active environments, move them over, and you can do your upgrades and testing activity there. Yeah, and then there is obviously, because we're provisioning those new cloud instances, they have their own distinct URLs so that they're different than your active instance URLs. And then just to address self-hosted customers, you're free to go out to Solution Exchange at any time and download a V8 instance. And we've got a lot of supporting documentation for you as well in the One Community group. And there's special blogs there for self-hosted customers who might be doing some configuration work that cloud customers are not doing.
So Dave, to wrap this up, we do have a question in chat. Someone asked for clarification on what's being deprecated 831. I believe that is the VPN in favor of SIC, but
Yep.
can you qualify that in the last minute or two here?
Yeah, so certainly. About a year ago, we announced that we're having an end of service. We're deprecating VPN in light of Smart Integration Connector being a more modern, autonomous way for customers to manage their own data integrations to their local network. So that date is the end of August of 2024, obviously coming up fast. If you're hearing this for the first time and it's a scramble for you to upgrade to a version 8 platform and transition your VPN to SIC, you can apply for an extension. We do like to enforce that you have a plan and you tell us what that plan is for transitioning away from VPN to SIC. We record that, we give you that extension, and we'll follow up with you on that.
All right, and then we have one more question that came into the Q&A area. And the question is, when will another version be launched? And should we start testing V8.2 or wait until the new version?
So 8.2, solid release, been in market for a while. I would recommend, you consider that. One of the differences with the R2 release coming out in August is that the browser, the modern browser experience will be fully generally available, or GA. There's a few polishing points in that. We're also applying our new branding to the R2 release. So, you know, if you wait, those things will be there for you, but no reason to wait. The current in-market release is ready to go with .NET version 8 and all those capabilities that we reviewed in the webinar today.
Right, cool. All right. Well, that brings us to the top of the hour. We just want to thank everybody for joining us today and wish everybody a good afternoon. And we will go ahead and send this recording out along with the presentation. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.